Having sickle cell, first of all, it may feel like it's a condemnation, but that's not a condemnation. You can still have a life because they always say people with sickle cell cannot cross a certain age bracket. They will die. And it is worse if you come from an African setting like I do. And I will tell you, these people will not understand. The normal people, and I said normal people who are not SS, they will not understand. I have had pain. I have had pain, like real pain, to the extent that one time I walked in hospital on the 22nd of 1 month. I opened my eyes on the 17th of the next month. I have learned one thing in my life. First of all, to cut away sympathizers. They are a great limitation. Sometimes your own family, sometimes your friends, sometimes your health workers. Sorry to say. Yeah, but sometimes we keep people around us and they are not necessary. They would kill us. They would kill us in a later time because of their sympathy. I mean, a child with sickle cell is a very expensive child. Before you get married to anyone, you need to do the testing, know your status, know your genotype, so that you are able to make sober decisions.
Informed decision, yeah.
Informed and sober decision. You see, when I was growing up, they used to say love is blind, love is blind. But when you are informed, love is not blind.
That's true.
You have to see where you're going.
You're sober.
You're sober.
You know what you're doing.
You know what you're doing, and you are accountable for your actions.
Yeah. Hi everybody, welcome to today's episode where we are talking about living with sickle cell. This is a much needed conversation in our day and age because many people who have had that experience have not gotten enough warriors to talk about it and also encourage them that you can actually live to your full potential even with such an anemic disease. So with me today, I have a warrior who has lived with sickle cell for more than 3 decades and is willing to take us through his experience so that you can be encouraged. If you know a friend, a family, or anybody who is going through this will be a very helpful conversation. So be sure to share with them, subscribe if you haven't, and this will mean so much to us. Thank you so much. So welcome with me, Moses Ochen. Hi, Moses.
Very nice.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Now, Moses, in an everyday life, how can you describe sickle cell in a layman's language? Or what are some of the triggers that affect you, even from a young age up to now? What are some of those?
You asked me what are some of the triggers, and these triggers vary from patient to patient. What may be a trigger for me might never be a trigger for you
another person,
or for another person. Because I remember when I was growing up, I would sometimes go and play in water. And for some reasons, I don't know, I think God just preserved me. Some reasons, it will not trigger anything. Sometimes it would, sometimes it wouldn't. And on the days that it didn't, I would gain more confidence
to go again.
Yes, so these triggers are from person to person. For some other people, extremes, let's say extremes of emotions, I would say, over happy, over sad, emotional imbalances are also a trigger. Yes.
So you've had you've had the trigger for cold water for all this time?
Yeah, I've had triggers for cold, but it is not always the same. I mean, even seasons, the weather, all the things, they really vary.
Now, in Ugandan weather, sorry for cutting you short, in Ugandan culture of schooling, primary, secondary, uni, how did you handle this? Because that is those are times when we are not with our families. So for you, how did you go through school?
How did I go through school? I will fast forward this. First of all, I told you at one point I was in a village setting. And reaching school, you have to walk for at least 3 kilometers. But then there are seasons where it dew. You'd go walk to school, and then when the rain has come, and then the storm brings grass in the road, and then there's dew all over, and you have to go through it. But you have to reach school, you have to study, and you have to make sure that your grades are good at the end of the term. So that would be there. But there are several times when I was supposed to be in school, I was not in school because I had a pain. I remember, and several times I didn't go to the schools that I wanted to go to. I didn't go to the schools that even had admitted me. Some of them had admitted me, and some that I went to had to draw back. Why? Because it was very, very hectic for my parents. Because almost every 2 weeks, especially when I joined high school, every 2 weeks they'd call my dad. He's down again. He's down. So he would also be expecting a call from the school nurse anytime. Luckily enough, he was working within town, and the school was not very far from Kampala. So he would drive very fast and pick me. Yes. I remember one time at university, for almost a whole semester, I did not study. So I told my friend, I have not read. Maybe I should just forfeit these exams and do them for another semester. I would carry them on. And he told me, I will do what I can do for you, even if it means carrying you to the examination room. I will carry you. But we are going to do those exams. And we did the exams. It took me, we did the exams, and I passed all of them that semester. And later on, I was like, now, see how I would have wasted time if it was about having pity on myself. I would have wasted a lot of time.
A lot of time.
Yeah.
And that is something that is very commendable, Moses. But I want us to also talk about how you've managed to live life to your fullest of potential, where you're doing your business, your career. Because many times, number one, people with sickle cell sometimes don't live to their full potential. You know, how have you managed to even have your potential maximized in career, in business, and you at that point of your life?
I have learned one thing in my life.
Yeah.
First of all, to cut away sympathizers.
Yes.
They are a great limitation. Sometimes your own family, sometimes your friends, sometimes your health workers. Sorry to say. Yeah, but sometimes we keep people around us and they're not necessary. They would kill us. They would kill us in a later time.
Yeah.
Because of their sympathy. And I have learned, when I am healthy, when I don't have the pain, I will pursue my goals. I will pursue my life. If I need to help people, I would go out, help them. I would travel places. When the pain comes, we will handle it. We will handle it.
Yeah.
Though sometimes it comes and
It's
man,
hard. It's hard.
It is very, very hard. It's very, very hard.
Oh, you mentioned about sympathizers, and I think, generally speaking, people are so much drawn to having sympathy.
Yeah.
What would you tell such people?
What I would tell such people is draw back, think twice, move on without sympathy.
Because with sickle cell, you're saying sympathy kills faster.
Sympathy kills faster. Even in life, there are people who have other conditions that is not really sickle cell.
Yeah.
But because of the kind of sympathy they have around them, and even for them, their own selves, the people who sympathize with themselves, they're too soft for themselves. And I'm not telling you to go out there and start being very hard on yourself. But hey, there are some of the things. I have had pain. I have had pain, like real pain, to the extent that one time I walked in hospital on the 22nd of 1 month. 3 days into the hospital, I don't know what happened. I opened my eyes. on the 17th of the next month.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
No, it was on the 14th of the next month.
Mm.
You get it, eh?
Mm.
But what happens? What happened? What put me there? Because of too much pain.
Too much pain, yes.
Yeah, too much pain, and I could not breathe by myself. I was put on ventilators just to make sure I stay alive. And this is the point where I say great thanks to the medics. They really do. They really fight. They are as warriors as we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, for a sickle cell patient, I always tell people that when there's a sick person in the family, it's not on them. The whole family is sick. Because the tension is moved, is spread across.
Yeah.
The tension, the pain is spread across. When I'm in pain, I'll disturb my sisters, I'll disturb my father, I'll disturb my brothers, I'll disturb anyone who cares to give me the help that I need at that point. I'll disturb the medics, I'll disturb the nurses, anyone.
Yeah.
So pain in a family is not on one person. It is on everyone in the house.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. You mentioned something to do with people not having too much sympathy. Yeah. Now, how do you draw a line between sympathizers and people who are insensitive?
How do I draw a line in
In
between
terms of, because yeah, like
sympathizers
if
and
how do
people
you
who
draw
are?
a line between someone who doesn't need to show sympathy and someone who is insensitive?
I think for me, okay, if you find me in pain, don't say, "Oh, Bambi, oh, Bam," do things. Eh? I really don't like it. Just come and tell me, "Hey, I know you're in pain, but you're going to get out of this. This too shall pass." Yeah, this too shall pass. And then the people who, what did you call them?
Insensitive.
Insensitive people. Insensitive people will never say a thing. Okay? They never,
Insensitive don't say anything.
they never say a thing. They don't have a point of connection with you.
Yeah, yeah.
They don't have a point of connection with you. They're on their own.
They're disconnected from.
And that is such people are the stigmatizers.
Oh, so stigma can also come from people who are disconnected.
Even from your family, you can get stigma.
Well, okay, now take us through, some of the events or stigmatization episodes you've had in your life. Some, at least some remarkable ones that you can remember.
I'll tell you one of the most recent ones.
Yeah.
One day I was doing my advocacy, normal advocacy. You try to educate people about sickle cell, and then for some reasons I posted on a Christian group, a church group, and a brother came out and said, "We are men of faith. Even if it comes, we will pray until it go away." I was like, "Oh wow, this is very interesting." And I am not against faith. I am not against the healing power of God. I am a strong believer in the healing power of God. I believe in the supernatural.
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe in the supernatural. But I also know that there's a very thin line between foolishness and faith. Very thin line. It's not that faith is not there. Faith is there and faith works. Yeah? But when your faith is not working for you, then it wasn't faith in the first place. So, as a Christian, there are things you will say. There are things you will say. For example, anyway, of course, I understand the brother was speaking from a point of ignorance. He didn't know what sickle cell was. He didn't know how it comes about. So I was trying to educate them, like, you need to do the testing before you get married to anyone. You need to do the testing, know your status, know your genotype status, so that you are able to make sober decisions.
Informed decision. Yeah.
Informed and sober decision. You see, when I was growing up, they used to say love is blind, love is blind. But when you are informed, love is not blind.
That's true.
You have to see where you're going.
You're sober.
You're sober.
You know what you're doing.
You know what you're doing, and
you're making.
you are accountable for
your
actions.
decisions. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, is there any other episode you've heard of stigma apart from that?
Several in school, at workplace. I wouldn't say, because I did about 3 jobs when I just got out of university, and no one knew what I was going through, because anytime I'm not well, I'll just tell them I'm not okay, not coming to work, and then I go to a medical facility. Even with people that I used to serve in ministry, I remember when I was at university, I used to do a lot of missions, and then there's this particular time we went to a mission in MPG, and almost the entire week I was down.
On mission ground?
On mission ground, I was down. But for some reason, because of the zeal that I have for praising God and all that, I would be down. And then I talked to a friend of mine. That was his village, he directed me to a nurse there. So the thing is, I had learned my body enough, and I knew, I can tell if I get a crisis that strikes in, I know if this stays for this length of time, it is going to get into something else. So I keep in very good touch with the medics. Hopefully they are faster in their actions, because sometimes they really get slow, and then you end up in places that you shouldn't have been to if they acted fast. So this friend of mine connected me with a nurse, and they've given pain relievers. So for some reasons, I would go and lead praise and worship on a crusade, and people didn't understand what was going on. So they were like, "Oh no, guy, why is he not going for door to door? Yeah, why is he not going for outreach?" So I tell them, "I'm not okay, but I'll be okay later." And then, of course, when that 7 o'clock call kicks in, I would draw back and get into my bed as the preacher is doing his thing. I would be in my cover, because I would carry my warm things. Yeah, just to make sure I don't get overtaken by circumstances.
Well, that's something commendable. The fact that you go out of your way to live to your potential, do the work you have to do the ministry that you have to do, reach out in the ability that God has given you. I feel like that's something that is commendable, and something that people have to learn.
Yeah.
I've encountered so many people who have even less limitations, like very trivial excuses to why they are not doing what they're supposed to do in life, in their career, in their businesses, in their ministry. But hearing your story and hearing what you go through sometimes to show up at work, what you have to do to show up at a mission ground, that's something commendable.
And I will tell you, these people will not understand. The normal people, and I said normal people who are not SS, they will not understand. But it is always a fight throughout the night. There are not so many occasions where a warrior will have sound sleep without having any tickling pains in their body in the night. Because sometimes I think when the writers of the Bible were writing, we were thinking about warriors. So a guy writes and says that sorrow may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Like,
that's a warrior.
That's a warrior. Because sometimes you go to bed, you are okay, the body is okay, Or sometimes by the time you're going to bed, the body is already not communicating well with you. But you have to trick it. Trick it to get into order so that you wake up the next morning and show up at your job, show up in church, show up, with your friends, people. Because I'll tell you something, people don't care,
Yeah.
sadly.
Yeah. That's a fact.
You made an appointment for 8 o'clock. Why are you not here at 8? You're supposed to report at 8. You get it? So it is up to you to push yourself and show up. Though sometimes it is beyond, it's beyond control. It's beyond control.
But you try.
You try, but sometimes you're overtaken and you're down. You tell them, hey, I am not able, I am
Not
in a
able.
facility. Personally, when I go in a place, first thing I identify out is a medical facility. And I make sure the medics there get to know me, we build a rapport. Anytime I feel anything in my body,
Call them.
I also have my border guy or a friend who has a car who can drive me in case I have a car and I'm not able to drive. I can just make a quick dial for them and I'm in the facility in the next few minutes. Because, like I told you earlier on, personally, I know my body a certain way.
Yeah.
So when a pain kicks in, however small it is,
Yeah.
I can tell that this one will go away,
This one will stay for some
this
time.
one will stay for some time, or this one will escalate very fast and end up into something nasty. So that's how I get to learn the medical facilities around and people who can help me out very quick. And when I go, I tell them, okay, this one, it feels like it is hard, but no, give it mild treatment. Yeah, give it mild treatment. It also helps me not to be addicted to medication, because some of the drugs that I use on warriors are really very addictive. Very addictive.
Because you want to deal with the pain in a minute and it
You
goes.
want to deal with the pain. I know a friend who says, me, anything to do with pain, I'll deal with it immediately. But sometimes you have to give it mild treatment and let it go.
Yeah.
Sometimes you also have to teach your body to fight the pain. Yeah. To avoid addiction. I know people who have been addicted to drugs and somehow they ended up not so good, not so well. Yeah.
Wow, that's very helpful. That's very helpful, especially to somebody who could also be a warrior and they're looking for a way of coping. So thank you so much. Now, I want us to talk about sickle cell in the public eye.
Sickle cell in the public
What are
eye.
some of those myths that people have that we want to clear the air about?
Wow. First of all, having sickle cell, first of all, it may feel like it's a condemnation, but that's not a condemnation. You can still have a life, because they always say people with sickle cell cannot cross a certain age bracket. They will die. And it is worse if you come from an African setting, like I do. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it is. It is. Many.
I come from an African setting, very African. When I was growing up, many people actually, when they see someone is over falling sick, like, this might
Sickle.
be witchcraft. You
Yeah.
get it? They, for some reasons in Africa, any challenge is attached to
Witchcraft.
spirituality. Spirituality. You get it?
Yeah.
If someone is in church, and then if they're good Christians, like those people with faith, and then they're not informed. Remember the other story I gave you of a brother? If such a person ever got married to someone who is a carrier and they're also carrier, okay? And then they gave birth to a sickle cell child, you'd start hearing in the corridors of Christianity, like, I think they must have sinned.
Oh.
Funny and very sad. And then those who are not in church, they will relate it to some sort of witchcraft. Maybe they have something in their family, things like that. Yeah. And sadly, they will always attach that to the woman's family. Say this woman came with a disease from their home. Very sad.
I think that doesn't apply to only sickle cell.
Yeah.
Like
But if you speak to mothers, and I know a great number of people who have given birth to warriors. Yeah. Either somehow they end up being single parents. Somehow they end up being single parents, and maybe it's a sober decision. Maybe it's a sober decision that they make, agree with one another. Sometimes it is just because you have a disease, and I wouldn't want to
associate with you,
which is very sad.
Wow.
That is what it is in the public eye. But then also you realize that not so many people know about sickle cell.
Yeah. And I don't know why. For some reason, I don't know why like our parents never used to talk about something like this.
Because even in the hospitals, they will not talk about it. I will tell you, most of the living warriors were given birth to a season when there is AIDS, especially in Uganda, HIV, AIDS. So what people cared about was
Do you have AIDS. HIV or you don't?
Like, so you see someone say like, I think I gave birth to a child with HIV AIDS. Or the parents could be finger pointing and all that. So people never talk about it. Also for the fear of stigma. You get it? Also for the fear of stigma. I'll tell you, most of my life, it is until about 3-4 years ago that I started coming out and talking about this thing and telling people, hey, you don't need to give birth to children who will go through the same things that we are going through. We can put a stop to this. We can put a stop to this. And you see, knowledge is power, they say. Yeah. If you're a good Bible reader, you could have had a statement that knowledge shall be the stability of your nation. Yeah. So beyond the stability of a nation, knowledge can also. And yes, let's talk about the stability of a nation. There is not going to be a stable nation when it has sick people all over. Because we need to have a healthy nation. People are working. You get it, eh? People are working. People are associating with one another. They are reproducing. Because the future of any nation, is in the children that it produces.
That's true.
Now, back to families. You are not going to have a stable nation, without stable families.
I agree.
That's where it all starts from.
Yeah.
Now I'm speaking as a Ugandan. Yeah, so as Ugandans, as Africans, we need to put a stop to this. Or if we can't put a total stop to it, let us limit it. Yeah. And how do we limit it? By knowledge. Let us spread this. Yeah. Okay, you who is a patient, you who is a caregiver. Because some people are caregivers, they're mothers, they have warriors, but they never talk about it. They think that when they talk about it, people will know what their children are going through.
Yeah.
You get
Yeah.
it, eh?
And the fear of stigma, like the way
Yes,
you
the fear
said.
of stigma. But sometimes you have to know that whoever is stigmatizing you, it's only because they lack knowledge. They don't know how bad it can get.
If it's not
If
talked
them
about.
if it is not talked about, if themselves they get into such a sticky situation where they are relating with someone, producing with someone, but they're all carriers, and like church will say there's no divorce. You get it, eh? But what will you do if all you keep doing is producing
Sicklers.
sicklers, warriors? You get it? You're living in a house, you have 4 children, but all of them are sick. How do you even handle? For those who have one person who is sick with sickle cells, they feel it is too much. How about you? You're having 2, you're having 3, you're having 4. So let us overlook those who stigmatize us
And make informed decisions.
and make informed decisions. Tell them, let them stigmatize you, but in the end, they will appreciate.
Wow, wow, that's very profound. Of course, my heart goes out to families that already have children in that area where you find there are more than 2, there
Yeah.
are 3, there are 4.
I've seen a couple of families and they're struggling, especially if I mean, a child with sickle cell is a very expensive child. Very expensive child. You will have saved a small money, you want to buy your plot, and they get into a very
Crisis.
bad crisis. And hey, no one wants to lose
Child,
a
yeah.
child. No one wants to lose anyone. You will sacrifice that money just to make sure that they get
Moses,
back on their feet.
now looking at that in perspective, look at you now. I mean, God has preserved you up to this time, and He can preserve many other lives, and that is something we need to put out there. That it is actually possible for those children to grow up and live to their
Full
full
potential.
potential.
True.
It is very possible. Now, I want to I want us to talk about something you mentioned, but you didn't go into detail, and that is about your experience of finding love, finding somebody
Interesting.
to somebody to relate with, somebody to subsequently marry. How has that been for you?
What can I say?
Yes.
Yeah, but one time I was talking to someone.
Yeah.
I was like, well, you may find people who love you, but not everyone can handle you.
Yeah.
So it is not as easy as it is for other people who are
Wow.
not.
Yeah.
You get it, eh? It's not as easy. You find something, you find someone, and you like them, they like you, but have you tested? You know your status, but if they're carriers, that's a no goes on. Make a sober decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
Make a sober decision. If you love them, you have to part ways. You will have to let them go with someone else if you love them.
Yeah.
And also, one time, someone told me, I can get married to anyone as long as they don't overfall sick. I'm like, oof. What do you mean by overfall sick? Like, the people, they're always in hospital. And for a warrior,
Yeah.
maybe one thing I have not mentioned for a caregiver out there, even that those who are old enough, sometimes you don't have to wait for that crisis to kick in before you visit a medical facility. Just walk into that facility, maybe every 2 weeks, maybe every month, and make sure you check and make sure you're in good state. You can still move on for
Yeah.
the next 1 month or 2. You get it, eh?
Yeah.
Because I have ever been in a situation where I stayed. The body is feeling strong, but on the inside I'm deteriorating. Yeah, on the inside I'm deteriorating. So by the time you realize, there's a time a doctor asked me, how have you kept alive up to now? Because my HB, the hemoglobin level had gone so low that I needed a blood transfusion, like immediately, like yesterday. So get someone who can bear with you, who can support you. So, I mean, that's why it has been a bit tricky to find love.
Yeah. That's okay. It's very good to share that.
A bit tricky
Yeah.
because you need to be with someone who really understands, who supports you. Because not everyone will.
Yeah.
Like you said, there are those who are just insensitive, and then there are those who pity,
who want to get married to you because of sympathy.
those ones, I drive them far. You get it, eh? Like anytime I recognize sympathy in someone,
It's a no-go. But
it's a no-go.
it's I think it's not just for sickle cell. I think generally speaking, when someone is going through pain, when someone is going through, grief or some sort of a situation that is hard, sometimes sympathy makes things worse. Like I can imagine when I'm going through something hard and someone starts saying, "Oh, sorry," I even end up crying more.
It even gets worse if they're saying it in a local language.
Yeah. So what are your final thoughts really to everyone who has listened to you?
My final thoughts, very many thoughts, but first of all, to help the parents out there, to help the warriors out there. One very important thing is to learn your body. You know how your body behaves, you know how your body reacts. If you're a parent, you should learn, because you are the brain, you are the mind, you're the heart of your child. Learn how their body operates, so that you are able to detect a crisis before it even occurs, and you put a stop to it, or you manage it faster. Two, one thing that strikes me most, I'll tell you in a short story. When I was at university, I one time woke up in the middle of the night, and then I really had a voice. So one day, a friend of mine, a dear friend, visited me. So I asked him, what does it mean if somebody tells you to guard your heart? That was my first time of hearing such a statement. What does it mean when someone tells you to guard your heart? Then it was answered in a reluctant way. It's because out of it comes the issues of life. I was like, okay. I didn't understand it, but it resonated with what I had heard. Like it could connect. Yeah? And then later, 3 years after, I read it somewhere in the Bible, in the Proverbs. Yeah? And the Bible said, guard your heart with all diligence. Okay? You underline the word all diligence, because out of it flows the issues of life. Later I learned that actually the heart is the engine of the world. Anything that you ever see on the surface of the earth started from somebody's heart.
Yeah.
The terrors that you see, the good charitable activities, the good innovations that you ever see, it all started brooding from somebody's heart.
Yeah.
Okay? So this is what I tell the warriors. Guard your heart. Guard your heart with all diligence. You see, the Bible says that it is not what comes out of it is not what goes in a man that defiles them, but what comes out of them. Yeah? Pity comes out of you, it kills you. Okay?
Yeah.
Pity comes out of you. I mean, the reckless statements you make, yeah,
About yourself.
about yourself. I don't make reckless statements about myself. I am very intentional with myself. Yeah, very intentional. The things I do are very intentional. Why? Because I have learned to guard my heart. One day, I walked into a hospital and they were taking me to ICU. Okay, I was very unstable. The only thing I remember telling my sister and a friend of mine is that I don't want to see any tear here. Because when you cry, it will affect me. Yeah?
You might become worse.
Exactly. So I learned to guard my heart and keep your heart at the place of perfect peace. Peace. Peace in your heart. Because a person whose heart is not guarded, it is just a matter of time that any small crisis will come and they're down. But if your heart is well guarded, it doesn't matter what comes your way. It is also a matter of time and you'll get out of it.
We definitely need to know how to deal with such situations, but also to let a family there, or an individual, or a mother, or any person who has a child or a person with such, that it's actually possible for you to live to your full potential.
Sure.
It's very possible once you learn how to, handle the crisis and guard your heart. Thank you so much, Moses. And Moses has been gracious to put his experience in a book that is very accessible once you get to him. And this is called Strength of a Warrior, Living Courageously with Sickle Cell. In this book, he says that strength in life is often derived from inescapable pressures and challenging circumstances. Courage shines through when, in the face of these challenges, we do not flinch. Living with sickle cell disease presents one such scenario where affected families and individuals must, like true warriors, inescapably face each day, each season, and each crisis with resilient hope and unwavering courage. In this book, Strength of a Warrior, he sheds light not only on the nature of the disease in general, but also offers great vision into how knowledge sharing and mindset change can lead to sustainable reduction in sickle cell disease incidence in the world. He further takes a journey into the issues that sickle cell disease warriors face each day as they go through their crises, like a soldier who understands the ultimate price at war and yet still finds the courage to take up the arms. This book is available, and if you want such a copy or you want to share such a copy with someone, please go and send the request to that email on your screen and let me know. I'll definitely have this book offered to you. Thank you so much. If this is a conversation that you can relate with, please go in our comment section and let us know what you think. Till next time, bye-bye.